Hello, welcome. So today we're going to do a feel good flow. Whenever you join, we'll come on our backs and start from there. As we begin to settle in our backs, coming in contact with our breath, letting ourselves land in this space. Trying to stay still and steady. For this class, I want us to come into our bodies, into ourselves with a beginner's mind. What do I mean by that? I want us to stay curious, almost as if this were your first day, first time in your body. Although we're in our bodies all the time, we seldomly truly embody our body. So we truly are, very occasionally, are in contact and mindful of how it feels to be in this body that we were given. So as we lie here steady, focusing on our breath, take your thumb and just glide over the tips of your fingers. Slowly bringing that awareness to that small sensation in the tips of the fingers. And continue for a couple more breaths. In the same way, I want us to move throughout the whole class. Bringing that very attentive awareness to every part of our body and see what it has to tell us. With that, bringing both knees into our chest. Giving ourselves a big hug. And lengthen the left leg forward. Bringing the right knee into the chest, hugging it as close into the chest as possible. Keeping the left hand onto the right knee, lengthen the right arm back behind you. Long. I don't have much space, but if you have the space, try to really lengthen it as long as possible. And take your head over to the right side, looking towards the right over the arm. Maybe keeping your eyes closed. And just the weight of the head, letting the neck open, the shoulders relax. And twist over towards the left, bringing the knee towards the left side of the body. Coming back through center. Lengthening the right leg up towards the ceiling. Maybe our hands won't be as high up as they usually are because we're just getting started. Maybe they'll be just behind the thigh. Trying to really lengthen the leg, pushing through the heel, the toes facing down. And drop the right leg, bringing the left leg into the chest. Lengthening the left arm over our head and taking our head over towards the left side. Letting the weight of the body, of the head, open the neck and begin to release any tension that we might be holding on our shoulders, sides of the neck, and twisting over towards the right as we keep the gaze over towards the left. With that same presence that we started throughout the class, seeing what comes up as we begin to open the body. What is the body telling us? And come back through center, lengthening the left leg up towards the ceiling, pushing through the heel, all toes facing down. So we have an active, engaged, flying leg. And bringing both knees into the chest, giving ourselves a big, big hug. Placing both feet down onto the mat, hip width apart. Arms next to the torso. And in a dynamic movement, we're going to inhale, lift the hips up, push the arms against the mat, exhale, lower. Just like that, 9 more times, 10 in total. Inhale, pushing the hips up, exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Opening the chest, shoulders trying to wrap around behind the chest and lower. Continue at your own pace. Making sure the legs aren't splurging out, they remain parallel. And last one, as we lift, we're going to hold it up, interlacing our hands under our hips, rolling our shoulders under the chest, pushing the hips up and the heart towards the roof of the mouth. Hold here, 4 more breaths. And slowly release down, letting go of your hands, letting the shoulders release onto the mat, bringing both knees into the chest. And lengthen both legs forward. Here, we're going to reach our arms over our head as long as possible. And we're going to take both legs and arms towards the right side. So be coming into like a banana shape. And you can take the left leg over the right, making it a little deeper. Bending the whole side of the body, keeping both sides onto the mat. Breathing here. Maybe closing our eyes to keep any stimulus outside and just focusing on anything that's coming up from our body out. And come back through center, other side. This time taking the right leg over the left and making sure the right hip is still pressing against the mat, it's not lifting. And release here. And letting go, coming back through center, lengthening both legs up towards the ceiling, pushing through the heels. It's okay if our knees are bent, if we're not very open through the backs of our legs. We're going to do some core exercises. So we're going to press both arms next to the torso, making sure the belly button is pushing in so the low back doesn't lift. And we're going to lower one leg at a time. If you want to take it a level up, you can lower both legs at a time. Whatever option you're taking, we're going to do 16. Trying to follow the breath, bringing that mindfulness through the breath and movement. If your low back is lifting, you don't have to lower as much. And if it's still lifting a lot when you lower, you can place your hands in your low back to bring support. Whatever option you're taking, steady and slow. 8 more. Last 3. And last one, lowering slowly, coming back up, knees into chest, roll all the way up to seated, catching yourself, if you can, in Navasana. Long spine. Maybe if you want to, there's ways to accommodate it to make it more invigorating or not. You can lower your legs a little. You can lift them to be as parallel to the mat as possible for more energy. Making sure the sits bones are grounded. Maybe the hands are holding to support the legs. And hold. 3 more breaths. Slowly release down, coming into a Sukhasana, seated position. So Sukhasana is not just crisscross applesauce. We're actually crossing the legs around the mid-shin, flexing the feet. So it's an active pose, making sure we're grounding our sits bones down. Placing our hands on our knees, releasing our neck, doing half circles with our head. So ear towards shoulder, chin in towards the chest, and then opposite ear towards the shoulder. And continue at your own pace. Maybe staying somewhere where it feels especially sticky. Last one. And come back through center. Taking your left arm under, right arm over, grabbing opposite shoulders with your hands, almost as if you were giving yourself a big hug. And tuck in the chin, taking the elbows towards the navel, really rounding the back. Breathe. And on the inhale, open, releasing the hands next to your torso. Placing your hands behind you. We're going to keep the legs as they are, giving yourself a little space so you can roll your shoulders back, lift the heart up. Lift the chest, maybe looking up. And if you want to take it a little deeper, you can push your hips up and forward, opening the whole frontal body. One more breath and release down. Taking your hands in front of you, folding forward. I like to tempt my fingers to really find length through the crown of the head, making sure I'm not rounding my upper back. And coming back up. Inhale, arms up. As you exhale, twist towards the right, grabbing the right knee with the left hand, looking over your shoulder behind you. Opening, broadening the collarbones. And release back through center. Switching legs, so whatever leg you started with in the front will go to the back this time. Again, making sure our feet are flexed, our legs are crossing around the mid-shin, the knees are dropping, sits bones grounded, and grabbing the head with the right hand on the left side, this time pulling your ear towards the shoulder. Feeling the same weight of the hand opening the left side of the neck and shoulder. And grabbing the back of the head, pulling the chin in towards the right side of the chest. And letting go with the right hand, grabbing with the left hand the right side of the head, pulling the left ear towards the left shoulder. Making sure that we're not pulling up our shoulders, as it'll be counterproductive. And grabbing the back of the head at a diagonal, bringing the chin towards the left side of the chest. And releasing the head. Now this time wrapping the left arm over the right arm, giving yourself a big hug. So the more you can reach behind you, the bigger hug, the more shoulder opening you'll get. And rounding the back, taking the elbows towards the navel. Tucking the chin in. One more breath. And release, coming up, placing the hands behind you, lifting the heart, lifting the chest. Maybe this time you want to push your hips forward, lifting the heart, lifting the chest. If not, remain where you were, just opening the shoulders, looking up, and release down. Walking your hands forward, folding over your legs. And come back up, lifting the torso. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist towards the left, grabbing the left knee with the right hand. Looking over the left shoulder if it's possible. The collarbones are broadening, so we're not rounding the upper back. Sits bones grounded. And come back through center, placing both hands in front of you, coming through a tabletop position. Making sure our hands are shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart, and coming through some rounds of cat-cows, or maybe any movement that feels right here to begin to warm up the spine. You can try side bends, bending one elbow, taking the shoulder towards the same hip. Just wiggling and kind of putting that curious hat on and discovering these new movements that have anything to tell you. About your body. And coming back through center, tabletop. We're going to place our toes onto the mat, and we're going to lift our knees to hover over the mat, engaging the core, not letting the hips lift. It's only the knees. So keeping the hips low, lifting the knees off of the mat. Hold here for 10 full rounds of breath. Feeling the floor, feeling you push away the floor with your hands, rounding the upper back, keeping the hips low, belly button in and up. Hold 5 more breaths. Hold. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe even when you're engaging your core and you're feeling the heat. And slowly lower down, placing the backs of the feet onto the mat, walking your hands forward, letting the heart melt onto the mat. Releasing any tension in the shoulders, broadening the collarbones. Maybe if this is too much, you can place a pillow under your chest or walk your hands a little more forward so it's not so deep. To keep it deep, you want to keep your hips over your knees. Try not to resist the pose wherever you are. And slowly walk the hands back in, lengthening the right leg towards the right. So keeping your hands under your shoulders, lengthening the right leg out at the same plane as the hips, lifting the torso up, walking the right hand along the right leg, lengthening the left side of the body. Maybe looking up. And slowly come back through center, dropping the left hand, bringing the left hand under the shoulder, right arm up, and maybe you reach over next to your ear if you want to stay here, or maybe you can try lifting the leg, grabbing the foot behind you, pressing the foot against the hand, opening the shoulder, opening the chest. And release the foot, coming back through center, tabletop position. Lengthening the left leg out towards the side. Lifting the torso. Walking the left hand along the left leg, lengthening the right side of the body this time. Maybe looking up if it's not too much for the neck. Keeping your body between 2 plane, so we're not pushing the hips back. And coming back through center, dropping the right hand under the right shoulder. Either staying here, left arm next to the ear, or if you took the bind, lengthen the left arm up, lift the leg, looking for the foot behind you. As you grab the foot, push the foot against the hand, opening the chest, opening the quads, broadening the heart. And slowly let it go. Coming back through center, we'll meet in tabletop position. Lengthening your legs back, coming into plank pose. Keeping your hands under your shoulders, but the shoulders have a small broadening, so it's almost as if they wanted to smile, the collarbones. And the heels push back, not letting the hips drop, and slowly come all the way down onto your belly. Bringing your hands towards the corners of the mat. You might have to take them out a little, in a little, depending on what you're feeling today. The heart up, coming into a seal pose. So the closer they're into you, the deeper the angle will be in the back. The more out, the less steep. So feel it out, feel what's right for you. Finding length through the crown of the head, the shoulders rolling back. And wherever you are, we're going to bend one elbow, looking over the opposite shoulder. And just like that, dynamically moving from one side towards the other. And again, at your own pace, feeling what's right for you today. One more breath and we'll meet through center. Letting go, coming back into your belly, placing your hands next to your chest. We're going to find our back into downward facing dog. So either knees on the mat, come into child's pose, push yourself through the reverse chaturanga, downward facing dog. First down dog of the class, so feel free to wiggle a little. Bending one knee, the other. Finding any movement that feels right. Couple more seconds and we'll meet in a steady down dog. Always prioritizing that long spine, so that might mean that we might bend our knees a little as we begin to find that long spine. And from there you can begin to push through the heels and lengthen the legs. Inhale, we're going to lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. Bringing the knee into the nose, placing the foot as smoothly as possible between your hands. Planting the back knee down, the back of the foot, lifting the torso up. Arms long next to our ears. As our hips shift forward, we're still rebounding up. Long spine. So feeling the opening in the front of the left hip, but we're not feeling a back bend in the low back. And slowly lower your hands down, lengthening the front leg, half splits. If you're very open in the backs of the legs, you might want to flex the front foot, pushing through the heel to lengthen the back of the right leg even more. And if you're not, which is totally normal because we tend to be very tight in the backs of the legs, feel free to come a little higher up to find more length through the crown of the head. One more breath. And bend the front leg, walking the hands towards the foot, walking the foot outside of the right hand. Feel free to stay here, or feel free to lower onto your forearms. Or you can actually lower onto one forearm, whatever feels right. And play around with either opening the hip or keeping it closed, minding the knee. The foot is in the same direction as the knee. And planting the hands back down, keeping the foot where it is. We're going to reach the right arm forward and back as we open the chest. Coming back through center, planting the hand back inside of the foot, wiggling the foot between both hands. Placing the back toes down, lifting the back knee, come into crescent lunge, lifting the torso, bending both knees to find squared hips. And from here, I want you to lengthen the back leg, feeling that frontal hip opener even deeper. Inhale, and as you exhale, lower the hands back down. Either step it back into down dog or we'll go through your vinyasa. Beginning to build heat. Other side, lift the left leg up, keeping the hips squared. Bringing the left knee into the nose as we shift forward and place the foot between your hands as smoothly as possible. Placing the back knee, lift into your low lunge. The knee doesn't go over the ankle. The knee is just over it, so it's not in front. The hips are squared, left hip crease is pushing back. Long spine, inhale. And on the exhale, lower the hands down, lengthening the front leg, half splits. Stay here, present with any sensation. The backs of the legs tend to be a tight spot, so stay with it. Breathe into the tightness to create space. And bend the front leg, walking the left foot outside of the left hand, lowering onto your forearms if it's available. And both sides are never the same, so get curious. See if one side you're more open. What is your body telling you? And placing both hands back onto the mat, bringing the left hand over our head and opening the heart, looking up towards the sky or the ceiling. Both hips are still dropping. And coming back through center, planting both hands onto the mat, wiggling the foot between your hands, and placing the back toes down, lifting the back knee, crescent lunge. Both hips are bent, hips are both facing forward. Inhale, and lower your hands back down. Step it back into plank pose, either shifting back into down dog or going through your vinyasa. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, bend the knees, look forward, step or hop towards the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, forward fold, and come all the way up to standing, hands in front of the heart. We're going to go through 3 rounds of Surya Namaskar A. Feel free to do them at your own pace as always, and add anything that feels right. These are 3 rounds that are for you. If not, feel free to follow me. Inhale, arms up. As you exhale, hinge forward, reaching for the mat with both hands. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, plant the hands next to the feet, step or hop back into plank or chaturanga. Lowering elbows tucked in, upward facing dog, shoulders roll back, downward facing dog. Return to the breath. Maybe close your eyes as you connect with any physical sensation in the body. Maybe even visualizing in your mind as your eyes are closed what your body's looking like. And on the next exhale, bend your knees, look forward, step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, hinge forward and come all the way up to standing. 2 more. This time I'm going to make it 1 breath per movement. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, plant the hands next to the feet, step or hop back, plank or directly into your chaturanga. Downward facing dog. Returning to the breath. 3 rounds of breath. And on the next exhale, bend your knees, look forward, step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, forward fold, and come all the way up to standing. Hands in front of the heart. Last round, inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, plant the hands next to the feet. Step or hop back into plank or chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. 3 rounds of breath. And on the next exhale, bend your knees, look forward, step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, forward fold, and come all the way up to standing. Hands in front of the heart. We're going to meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, plant the hands next to the feet, step or hop back, plank or skip it all together. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg, open the hip, bend the knee, bringing the heel towards the glute, towards the right glute. And slowly close it off, bringing the right knee into the nose, placing the foot between your hands. Option 1, lift the torso into crescent lunge and do this with a lifted torso. If you're a little more open behind the legs, you can keep it here into runner's lunge, and we're going to do it from here. So on the inhale, you're going to lengthen the front leg, and on the exhale, bend back into runner's lunge. We're going to do 3 more just like that. Inhale, bend. Exhale, come back. Last 2, do it slowly. And come back. And last 1, keep it here, long leg. Even if you're in standing, keep it with a long leg. And slowly bend the back leg, step it back, plank pose. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Other side. Inhale, lift the left leg, open the hip and bend the knee. Releasing that front of the left hip. Feeling that sensation. And close it off, bringing the left knee into the nose, placing the foot between your hands. Either staying here low or lifting, whatever feels right. We're going to take our own version. And on the inhale, lengthen through the leg. On the exhale, bend it back. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend. 2 more at your own pace. On the last one, we're going to hold it wherever we are with a lengthened leg. 2 more breaths. And bend it back, step it back, plank pose. Go through your vinyasa, chaturanga. Up dog. Down dog. Take a breath. Separating your feet around hip width or mat width apart. We're going to begin to walk our hands back as we drop our hips, coming into Malasana, yogi squat. Whatever that looks like for you. So you might be on your toes, you might have a block under your tush. Or maybe the whole foot is on the ground, hands in front of the heart as you push your knees out, lifting the heart, opening the shoulders. Stay here for 3 more breaths, maybe closing your eyes. On the next exhale, release the hands down towards the mat, keeping the stance wide. Lengthen the legs, fold over the thighs. Grabbing opposite elbows, letting the torso hang heavy, releasing anything, any tension, any strong sensation through the crown of the head. Releasing your hands back through center, rolling up one vertebrae at a time, all the way up to standing. Feeling every vertebrae open and come back to its place, almost a little, feeling the spine a little longer when you come back through center. Crown of the head lengthens, chin parallel to the mat, shoulders rolling back. And we'll walk towards the front of the mat. From here, we're gonna come into wide angle stance. So opening our stance along the mat. Usually you can play around with it depending on how tight you are behind your legs, but usually you want your feet around the arm's length, so where your hands are, right under them. And we're going to place our hands in our low back, lengthening the spine. Keeping our hands in our low back, we're going to lower halfway, finding a mini back bend here. And release your hands down onto the ground if they reach. If not, if you have blocks, wherever you are. And maybe you begin to walk your hands behind your legs, behind. Keeping the length in the spine, sits bones reaching up towards the ceiling. And walk it back forward, finding that length, almost that mini back bend, placing the hands on the hips, coming all the way up. We're going to open the right foot, coming into warrior two on the right side. Opening our arms along our legs. Finding a low warrior two. So it's a really long stance. Our knee is right over the ankle, not in front of it. The knee is in the same direction as the middle toe. So watch out if it's curved, the knee is tipping in. And find your steady warrior two. We're going to hold here for a little as we begin to settle in our pose. Feeling any juiciness from warrior two. And we're going to slowly come into extended side angle, either placing the forearm onto the thigh or right arm inside of the right leg, reaching the left arm up towards the ceiling. Feel free to stay here or wrap around the left arm behind you, bringing the fingertips inside of the thigh. Rolling the shoulder open as you look up. Finding length through the crown of the head. Right hip crease is pulling back. It's not popping out to the side. And slowly, as you came into it, you'll come out of it. Lengthening the left arm up. Coming into warrior two. Hold it just one more breath. And walk the left hand along the left leg. Lengthening the right side of the body. Coming back through center, lengthening the front leg, closing off the right foot, opening the left. Warrior two on the left side, opening our arms, making sure our shoulders are over our hips, not surfing in front of them. Hold here, settle into your warrior two, belly button in and up. We're not sticking our butt out. Strong arms. And coming into your extended side angle, whatever version you did on one side, you'll do on this side. Lengthening the right arm up, looking up if it's available, and it feels nice in your neck. And wrap around the right arm behind you, placing the fingertips inside of the left thigh if it reaches. If not, you can grab your t-shirt wherever you are. Hold here, feeling the opening through the shoulder, the collarbone. And as you came into it, you'll come out, lengthening the right arm, coming back through warrior two, one breath, and walk the right hand along the right leg, lengthening the left side of the body. Coming back through center, lengthen the front leg, closing it off, interlacing your fingers behind you. Let forward fold, letting the arms hang overhead. Releasing the shoulders, feeling as the weight of the arms open the shoulders, open the collarbones. Palms of the hands are facing each other. If you're very open, you can maybe even press them against each other. And slowly come back up, long spine all the way through center. Warrior two on the right side. Once again, opening the arms, lengthening. The arms all the way, the fingertips feel invigorated. And slowly, once again, extended side angle. Releasing the right hand inside or on the thigh. Left arm up. And if you try wrapping the hand behind you, you can try it this time. Or maybe you can try finding the full bind. Grabbing the left hand with the right behind you as the left shoulder rolls back, looking up. You want to make sure that in the bind, you're not closing to try to reach. You're opening. And slowly release the hands, coming all the way back up, lengthen the front leg. Preparing for Trikonasana. So maybe that means that you want to bring your foot a little closer. Long legs, either heel to heel, so same, whatever feels more stable. Usually it's the same as Warrior Two, either heel to heel or heel to arch. Arms are long, lengthening the torso as long as possible, dropping the right hand, lengthening the left. Feel free to stay here or maybe again wrap the arm behind you, looking up. And wherever you are, lengthen the left arm, coming all the way back up through center. Closing it off for the other side. Closing the right foot, opening the left. Make sure that it feels right. Maybe you want to open the stance a little if you closed it off for the other side. Opening up, Warrior Two. Just for a brief moment this time. As you settle here, and slowly find your extended side angle, whatever version you took on one side, you'll take on this. Right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. And look for the bind, maybe wrapping the arm behind you, or maybe the full bind, looking for the right wrist behind the torso. Left hip crease pulls back. Hold here. And slowly, wherever you are, lengthen the right arm, coming back through Warrior Two, lengthening the front leg, preparing for Trikonasana on this side. Lengthening the arms along the legs, shifting the torso forward, coming as long as possible, dropping the left hand, reaching the right arm up. As you push the hand against the foot to open the chest a little deeper. Maybe wrapping the right hand behind you. And coming back through center, closing off the left foot. Opening up the right foot, we're going to come into Skandasana. So shifting our hips towards the right side as we lower the hips, lifting the left foot to face up. Feel free to do it at your own pace. Maybe you're on your toes. Maybe you have a pillow supporting your heel. And open the chest, looking up. The foot is facing up, making sure that you're feeling that opening in the back of the left leg as well. Heart is lengthened. And lower both hands onto the mat, walking your hands towards the left side as you drop the hips and lengthen the right leg. Left arm inside of the left leg, right arm up towards the ceiling. It's almost as if the whole torso wanted to look up towards the ceiling. And slowly drop both hands down, walking hands towards the middle. Placing both hands in the center. If you don't reach the floor, either grab a stack of books or a block if you have one to find a little more length. If not, planting your hands onto the mat, placing the right hand under your face, lengthening the left arm up towards the ceiling, twisting open, reaching the left hip crease back to keep the hips squared. And back through center, other side, placing the left hand down, right arm up, right hip crease pulls back, left hip crease pulls back, keeping the hips squared. Almost as if you wanted to make a straight line from one hand to the other. And slowly lower down. Placing the hands at the hips, lift all the way back up through center. Bringing your heels in just a bit so your feet are at a diagonal. We're gonna come into goddess pose, lowering our hips, bending the knees, bringing our hands into cactus. Hold it here. Making sure that the tailbone pulls down and you're not overarching the low back. Hold. Interlacing your hands behind you, lengthening the arms, lifting the heart, opening the chest. And let go, lengthening the legs. Bringing your feet close to each other, so we're in a Tadasana, standing position. And we're gonna keep the right foot on the ground. We're gonna have a couple places where you can stay wherever feels right for you. Feel free to take your own version, as always. Shift the weight towards the right foot. Lifting the left foot, taking the left thigh across the right as you bend the standing leg. The more you bend, the easier it is to bind. If you're straight, it's much harder to bind. So option one, stay here, and maybe you can even support yourself with a big toe on the other side. Option two, bend a little deeper and try to look for the double bind. Bringing the left arm under, right arm over as you press your hands against each other. If you can't find the double bind with your arms, that's fine. The backs of the hands can press against each other. Or maybe you can even just give yourself a big hug as we did in the beginning of the class. Whatever feels right, stay here. If you're in the double bind, sit low into it. Push against the palm of the hands. Hug the hips in. And release it all. Other side. Shifting the weight towards the left foot as the right leg comes over the left thigh. Beginning to bend the standing leg. Maybe staying here in a single bind, or maybe looking for the double bind as you hook the foot behind the left leg. Right arm under, left arm over this time. Pressing the palms of the hands against each other, opening the shoulders, pushing the elbows so they're at the same level as the shoulders. Breathe. And slowly lengthen it all out. Release everything. Coming towards the front of the mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, lift halfway. Exhale, plant the hands next to the feet, step or hop back, plank or chaturanga. Or we'll meet in down dog. Bringing the right shin towards the front of the mat, the right knee close to the right wrist as we open the hip into pigeon pose. Making sure our hips are squared, both hip points facing forward. Opening the chest, opening the heart, and lower, releasing down. Maybe making a little pillow with your hands to support the forehead. And breathe. Lifting the torso, swinging the left leg forward. We're going to come into double pigeon. This might be a lot for many, so feel free to lengthen the bottom leg. If not, we're going to keep the right leg bent and stack the back leg, so the left leg, over the right. Heel over the knee, knee over the heel. The more precise we are with this, the deeper we're going to feel it. Opening both hips, finding a long spine, folding over both legs. It's fine if both knees are lifting a little bit, but if we feel very tight and crunched up, better to lengthen one of the legs. And coming back up, placing the right hand onto the mat or onto the floor next to your right hip. Lengthen the left side of the body, keeping both hips grounded, both sits bones grounded. Maybe placing the forearm if it feels right. And come back through center, placing your hands in front of you, coming back into your down dog, last down dog of the class. Just a brief one. Placing the left shin this time close towards the left wrist. It's okay if the foot comes in. You actually want to start from there to make sure your hips are squared. And then if you feel like you can go a little deeper, you can begin to walk the foot so it becomes as parallel to the front of the mat as possible. But if you do that and the right hip pops up, then undo it a little. And release down. Surrender. Closing your eyes. In Vedic tradition, Vedic or Eastern philosophy in general, really, they say that the hips, they believe that the hips carry emotion. So when we begin to open them, we begin to release deep emotions that we haven't seen at surface yet. It's just another interesting tool to become more mindful, more observant of our body and what it is telling us. Slowly coming back up, swinging the right leg towards the front of the mat, coming into your version of double pigeon. Stacking the heel over the knee, knee over heel, folding over your legs, releasing down. And coming back up, if you were folded over. Inhale, and on the exhale, place the left hand down, lengthening the right side of the body. Making sure that the torso and the arms are between two planes, so we're not tilting forward. That might mean that we might come up a little. And come all the way back up through center, coming onto our backs on your mat. So we're gonna do 3 back bends. Feel free to do what feels right for you. I'm gonna do 2 bridges and ending with 1 full wheel. If you wanna do all bridges, all wheels, go ahead. Mind your body. And if you wanna skip some of them, also feel free. Bringing your heels under your knees, arms next to the torso. Inhale, lift the hips up, interlacing your fingers behind, under you. Shoving the shoulders under the chest as you push the heart back, lifting the hips up. And just observe how this bridge feels versus the first one we did at the beginning of the class. If it feels any different, if it feels the same. And slowly lower. 1 more. Inhale, lift up. Hips push up towards the ceiling. Shoulders press against the mat. Roof of the mouth pushes back. And slowly release. Preparing for full wheel if you're coming into it with me. Placing your hands next to your ears. Elbows tucked in into chaturanga, arms. Inhale, lift up. Place the crown of the head onto the mat. Slowly pushing yourself up, straightening the arms completely. And maybe from there you can begin to push yourself back, bringing the shoulders over the wrists. Neck remains neutral, so we're not either looking back or forward. One more breath. And slowly release down in the same way we came up, bending the elbows back, chaturanga, arms, back of the head, and bringing the knees into the chest. Massaging the low back. We're going to rock and roll, so rock back and forth all the way up to seated. Lengthening the legs, coming into Dandasana. Walking the hands forward mindfully as we just did a deep back bend, so you might not want to just fold over to opposite ends in movement. So we were bending back and now we're folding forward. And slowly coming back up, placing the right foot over. Maybe you just place it inside of the left thigh, or maybe you cross it over, placing it outside of the left thigh. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, twist over towards the right as you look over your right shoulder. Finding length with each inhale and a little deeper twist with each exhale. Coming back through center, lengthening the right leg, bending the left. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist over towards the left as you place the right elbow outside. If this is too much, you can just hug your leg. But if not, you place your elbow outside and twist back. Finding length through the crown of the head, shoulders broadening, and come back through center. Once again, coming onto your back. Grabbing the edges of the feet. If it's too much, you could grab behind the knees, coming into happy baby. Releasing one leg, the other. As you pull the knees close towards the floor next to the torso. Beginning to close our eyes. Preparing ourselves for Shavasana. Lengthening the legs forward. Arms next to the torso. Releasing everything onto the mat. And before we release, complete control over our breath, our mind, our bodies, I want you to just be mindful of any sensation that arises right now as we lay here. And now completely releasing any control and just surrendering into your Shavasana. Feel free to stay as long as you want here. If not, place one hand over your belly, one over your heart. Feeling as with each inhale, your body expands, your energy expands. all throughout your body. And each exhale grounds you a little deeper into your mat. We are lucky enough to have been given our bodies for this lifetime. And yoga is a great way, a great tool to embody it, to really connect with it. Our body is very wise. And the more connected we are with it, the more of a sensation of being alive we can have. That is a gift of embodying our body, feeling alive. And slowly bringing your knees into your chest, giving yourself a big, big hug. Coming onto your side into a fetal position. Taking your time. Taking a second to express gratitude towards yourself for taking this time off for you. And push yourself all the way up to seated, keeping your eyes closed. Bringing your hands in front of your heart, bowing down in gratitude. Namaste.